Welcome back, man, to the Universal Thought Podcast, where we share universal thoughts, ideas, concepts, philosophies, and just all around good opinions and conversations, man. And we got a good one here today. I am your host, E. Smith.
I'm your co-host, Big Dre.
Slick in the building.
Yeah, you dig, man. And we got family in the building, man. Y'all already seen them. The Shelby County Democratic Chair is in the house, Mr. Will Simon. What's going on, bro?
Good. Everything's great, man. Glad to be back on the show. I feel like, I'm honorary now. We ain't even got to talk about Shelby County. We're going to talk about y'all.
Yeah. Man, he's awesome guy, man. He's always been in support, and he brings a lot of he's brought so many interesting people to the podcast, man, and we're here with one of them, man. So how I met this young lady is actually again through Will. I was actually looking for somebody that majors or that's an expert in psychology in some shape, form, or fashion, mental health, and I put a post up on Facebook, and he just so happened to already had ran into our guest today, and so he put us all in connection. I actually went to her a ribbon cutting grand opening of her new business, her new company, her new building, and we just made magic from there. So she is I gotta go through your initials. She's a DP, she's a DNP, APRN, PMHNP, BC. Psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. She's a Whitehaven native, owner of Clear Mind Psychiatric. That is right? Clear Mind Psychiatry. Okay, psychiatry. Okay, gotcha. I present to you all Miss Dr.Marqueta Abraham.
Abraham.
I'm so used to saying Abram because I know somebody named Abraham. Abraham.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the Universal Thought Podcast. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you.
Good. So we're gonna dive right into it. So what actually made you get into your field? What made you become a psychiatrist?
What had me to start was I saw a need in my community, and I wanted to fill that void and make sure that everybody can be covered and aware on how mental health actually affects all of us. And it's okay to get the help, it's okay to get the medications, but you got to start with just going first. And I wanted to be that void and that stigma breaker.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
And so you're a Whitehaven native, right?
I'm a Whitehaven native. I grew up in the neighborhood near Fairleigh High School. I went to West Hayville Elementary, I went to Lanier Junior High, and then Fairleigh High, and after that, several other schools after to get to this point to become Dr. Abraham.
You went to a lot of schools?
Yeah, a lot of schools.
She got a lot of letters.
Yeah, but it was a lot.
A lot of letters.
UT, Abilene Christian, Union University, and my latest school is actually Duke University. I'm a fellow in a nurse practitioner entrepreneurship program that they have.
Okay.
So I'm always learning. I'm a forever student is what I call myself, and what my family says too.
Forever student.
I know that's
forever
right.
student. Yes.
Right. For those who don't know, what's the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist?
A psychologist can diagnose or test you for different mental disorders, and a psychiatrist can give you the medication for those disorders. So, but they can diagnose and give the medication, but the psychologist can do the test and refer for the diagnosis to the psychiatrist. So you can still get therapy from a psychiatrist and also the medication, and going back to the psychologist, you can get therapy plus the diagnosis and evaluations to see what's going on. So for example, if you have a child that has autism, or you think that child has autism, that child can go to the psychologist to be tested and referred out for the medications if the child needs the medication to a psychiatrist.
Okay. So you write the scripts?
I write the scripts.
Gotcha. Okay.
So would anybody, you write this, okay, you're not the one that they come and sit on the couch with and just spill all their guts out, right?
No, you can come spill all the guts out you want. And at the end, I'm able to diagnose and give you medication for that if it's warranted that.
Why is it a stigma for Black people to feel like going to get help, mental help, is an issue or a problem?
This is, the stigma I feel comes from history. You start with the Tuskegee Airmen when they underwent very, like those experiments weren't the nicest, they weren't the best, and it was awful. And then you also had the Henrietta Lack with the companies taking her DNA and creating things from that.
Yeah.
So those are learned things throughout our history that we don't trust any providers. Now that you have providers that look like you and have the information that you need, we can help out. Hopefully we can start back building that trust so that people can go and get the help that they actually need. And especially when it comes to medications, you probably have a family member that's still living in the back of grandma's house that don't want to get any help, but they need the help.
Yes.
But if we can talk to that person, get that person the therapy that they need plus the medication that they need, maybe they can live a normal life. It just depends on how their body reacts to everything and how well they are into the evaluations on what's really going on with them.
I agree with that.
After you do get the help, what is the expected end result or timeline to get it? Or do they just constantly keep coming back to back, or they're the end result where you no longer have to be seen?
The expected end result is actually for you to get better and maybe even someday transition off the medication, especially if you do it in a combination of medication and therapy, which is the best way to do anything. But therapy alone without actually the person doing any actionable work, actively doing what they need to do from the therapy sessions, nothing will work. And medication alone isn't going to take away your fear of being in social events or your depressive episodes that you have that you're not telling anybody about, or even those thoughts of suicide that you might have that you're not even telling the therapist about. So you have to do the work that the therapists give you, and plus have the drive to keep pushing, take the med, get the chemical imbalance together, and move on with your life.
So how can you diagnose them if they never tell you?
You can listen to a person and hear the symptoms with the things that they say. So, for example, you may tell me that you're not sleeping, and then I can ask, how many nights have you not slept? So, and then what were the triggers of you not really sleeping? So it'll be a whole evaluation for me to sit there and ask the right questions to pull it out of you so that I know what my next steps need to be and what the diagnosis would actually be.
So they would actually have to acknowledge it?
Yes, they have to acknowledge it.
Yeah. I would think that
would help.
If they sit in there in denial all day, you can't do nothing with them, right? You can't.
No, can't help.
So I'm glad you asked that question, because what's interesting about our history, we tend to just give somebody a label. We say that's the crazy dude in the family. We don't ever go and say, hey, that person needs behavioral health. We just consider the person untrainable, you can't talk to them. They just have an issue. And so, how do you break down the barrier? Because I think what has to happen in our community is we break down these barriers where we just say somebody's just crazy, we can't do nothing about it, or somebody has, they just want some pills or want some attention, and we can't do anything about it. How do we break that barrier to start having real conversations about that gray area where it's a behavioral health issue, but it's also a social thing that we normalize in our community, to where it just becomes a bonding kind of thing that we can't get away from? How do we do it?
I believe with platforms like this, being on podcasts like this, getting out on the airways, on TV, radio, commercials, or even just our regular social media, like being vulnerable. When you're that way, people can see the authenticity, and they're able to say, oh, maybe I will go see her, or maybe I will consider going to go see a therapist and go get a little help. But we have to keep talking about it in order for that to happen, for people to see the vulnerability and our genuineness, when we're having platforms like this and know, like, yeah, we care, and we need you to go take that first step. And that's all it is just one step. So you have plenty of places in Memphis, Tennessee that you can go to that are, if you prefer black-owned or, African American therapist or African American psychiatrist, nurse practitioner, or an African American psychologist, they're there. They're just waiting on us to contact and get the help. So it's the first step. We got to do it and keep talking like we're doing now.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it like church? I've spoken to people who goes to certain churches because they go to, let's say, a black pastor, and he can come off better because he's been through, like before becoming a pastor, he was out in the streets, and now he's a pastor, so they can associate themselves better with him. Is that the same as what you do? Like, people will come and talk to you because they feel like, as a black woman, they can associate themselves, or they can come a little bit more out towards you than they could, let's say, a white person or whatever. Is this the same thing?
I believe so. People seem to be able to talk to somebody who are culturally like them. Somebody that can understand those colloquialisms that we have, understand our mannerisms, understand what we actually do. And so if you have that little aspect, I believe it's better to treat the person that you're treating. I'd like to give an example. So it's a doctor, I believe he's still in his residency, he's popular online, and he came up with a skin chart to show how we can get sunburned, how the cancers look, how different things look on black skin. That has never been around until he did it. And that's something that we all need to know. And mental health is the same way. We have to actually put the words out there, tell people, let go of that stigma, let's talk. Even if the person does look like you, that's fine, like, just go talk to them.
Yeah.
But it seems that sometimes we are, going back to what I said at first, we are a little bit uncomfortable because of how the medical system, the healthcare system is set up.
Yeah.
So we don't have a lot of trust, but with black professionals such as myself and others, we're there and we're ready. We just want to help.
Yeah.
The door is open.
Yeah, the door is open.
So you do believe that, or do you believe that you should go and seek, like, if you're black, you should primarily seek somebody that is black? Do you think that, like, black people can, like, I guess, culturally relate to us when we come and sit down on your couch rather than somebody who's white?
I think that you should be able to go who you're comfortable with. So you can vet the person just like we vet people when we want to hire somebody to do photography at a birthday party. So you're looking at all their videos, all their photography, seeing how that goes. So this is the same way. You go on Psychology Today, you look at each person's profile that you think might be a good fit for you, and you go with that person. If it doesn't work, you go to the next person until you get that one. So, you can, what I'm saying is, you have options. You have a lot of options out there with Psychology Today, or just Googling what you exactly want, or because there are a lot of great providers out in this whole Memphis area, whole Shelby County. So the help is there, but I want people to know, go with who you are comfortable with and what you feel that is the best for you.
Okay.
So could actually, I hope this don't come off as humorous, for a person to be sitting at home and say, I think I need to go talk to somebody about me. Wouldn't that be considered a form of mental health?
No. If you know that you recognized it, you want to get the help, by all means do that. So, but when you say me, talk to somebody about me, what are you referring to?
I'm just, how some people, they can sit and think, I need to do this about myself. It's almost like you talk to yourself in your head.
Yeah, okay.
But then decides, I need to go talk to somebody about this.
So self-awareness, that's what it sounds like. You're self-aware, you know what you want, so yeah, go get that help.
So when you say that, it's almost like you being a coach. Like, for instance, You recognize that, hey, I'm not meeting my biggest potential. I'm not operating where I need to be. And then, instead of going in and she taking a deep dive into something that seems like it might be mission critical, you might just be saying, look, there's a wall I keep hitting, or there's a ceiling I can't get up to. And then she becomes that coach. She might not have to give you no meds. She might not have to do anything but give you that listening ear.
Yeah, I was just asking, was that still like a form of some kind of mental health thing?
That is.
Oh, a form of mental health.
Yeah.
Well, yes, absolutely. Yes, I was looking at it from another angle.
No, I was about to say, I hope it didn't come out
But
humorous,
yeah.
but I would say, is that a form of mental health?
Yes, that is. Like you recognizing it, you're self-aware, and you're ready to get some work done. All it takes is that first step, being actionable. Like I said before, faith without works is dead.
Yes.
You have to have your actions behind what you're trying to do. You just can't constantly pray to the Lord, oh Lord, help me, without doing any work. It's not gonna fly. You're getting nowhere.
So it's when it's your profession, you have to, like when they come and sit down with you, you have to ask questions, like specific questions or just questions in period to get to know the person, right?
Right.
And they have to be open enough to allow these questions to be asked. We had a conversation recently, and some people said that, well, people don't like being questioned. Well, in my head, if you don't want to be questioned, but you're on that person's couch, you kind of contradicting what the issue and the purpose, because they have to talk to you, ask you questions, and maybe same question in a different way. That's supposed to help you. Am I right?
Right.
So if they're not willing to want to question, they're not really wanting to help then, right?
And when you come into any doctor's office, everything is bound by HIPAA, our oath that we take, and also it's anonymous.
Yeah.
Whatever you say inside anybody, therapist's office, psychologist, psychiatric nurse practitioner, or psychiatrist's office is not going, or LSW, is not going to leave that room. All of it is anonymous. It's between you and the person that's sitting in the chair trying to help.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think that's that's a great point, because a lot of people don't really trust, saying what they really want to say because they think it may get out. It'll never get out. It'll stay where it is, right within those walls. That's it.
Okay.
I was watching your interview you had on Channel 3, and you was talking about anxiety and some symptoms of anxiety, like heart palpitations and stuff like that. And when you said that, I was taken back, because I've been okay for about maybe the past year and a half, but I dealt with anxiety real bad, and I kept having these heart palpitations. So I don't know what's wrong. I'm going to the doctor. I went to the doctor a million times, and it was constantly telling me when I'm wrong. I didn't know, so I went to one doctor. This one doctor said something that it almost like it made it go away. He said it's in your head, just like that. He said it was in your head, and when he said that, I just kind of needed the confirmation. I needed somebody to tell me that. So, do you get a lot of how much do you think mental health is, as far as a person's like heritage, like? It may run in their family, or, things that cause their mental health to like crash based on society.
Environment can definitely be a huge factor in mental health. It could cause major stressors. Even now with our political environment, that's really stressful. If you lost a job, that's stressful.
Yeah.
Trying to get this podcast together, stressful. Even us driving on the street, that's stressful, so we have to recognize those stressors and be able to navigate through them, so it won't make us feel like we're having those heart palpitations or ruminating thoughts on, when I say ruminating, those constant thoughts and worry, oh, I'm just worried, I'm worried. You got to let it go. You have to be able to navigate through those little instances out your daily life to make sure that it doesn't boggle you all the way down, and to get those heart palpitations or sleepless nights or feeling down for several days. So, but the way I do want to add in, the way that you would know that there is a real issue is if it creates a whole disturbance in your daily life. You're not able to go to work, or you're not able to go to church. So that's something that people need to recognize, that okay, now it's time for me to go get this help. Now I need to see this therapist. Now I need to go see the psychiatric nurse practitioner for these meds, so we have to be able to be real with ourselves and do what we need to do. Like he said, you got to be real with yourself, be self-aware, and go out and get the help.
Right.
So I agree with that one.
It's crazy. Like the old saying, does it take a little bit of mental health to deal with mental health?
Take a little bit of mental health to deal with mental health.
You can't see so many people with them mental issues. Doesn't it take have to have a little bit to deal with them?
Does it take a crazy person to help a crazy person?
Try not to say it like that.
Wow.
I know what he's trying to say.
Crazy
He's
person
trying
to help
not
a
to say
crazy
it like
person.
that.
Okay.
You know how they say you have to be a little crazy to deal with crazy? But
No.
I didn't want to say it like that. But
No, I feel like if you are, like myself, I feel like I'm a very self-aware woman. I feel that I lean on my faith a lot. I do things to help myself out, mentally. Like I journal, I go for walks, I weightlift, because weightlifting really make me feel good. Like I do things I enjoy doing. Like I'm about to learn how to play golf, for goodness sakes. Just so that I can, keep going myself. So, and if I'm not healthy, I can't help, I won't be able to help anybody. Like it won't be any point. So what I'm getting to is you have to take care of yourself and make sure that you are fully there, fully aware, fully ready to like be there for your patient while you're talking to them and while you're giving them advice. Those things are very important, and self-neglect is not going to help anything. You won't be, you have to, as a provider, you have to do the same things to make sure that you stay afloat as well. And don't take anything, home with you, because once that person is in your room, you have done everything that you can do for them, and you just, you pray over it and wish them, make sure that they hope to God that they do what they need to do once they leave out that door.
So in your profession, have you ever known or heard it to be known that somebody can be a psychiatric counselor, but didn't have to see one themselves?
Yes. And a lot of people do go to therapists, themselves as professionals, especially if you're like a physician or nurse practitioner, or even the police officers and firefighters have to do the same thing. They all need like that therapy to get through those hard parts of their jobs, because those jobs aren't easy, because it's helping, you're serving the public, you're being a public servant. All of those jobs are public service jobs. And again, like if you're not building yourself up in the inside, mentally and physically, you're just gonna wear yourself out.
So somebody's been on somebody's couch and was going for help, and they left there saying, hell, they need more help than me. I may have helped them. That's possible? I mean, that's happened?
That's crossing a professional boundary that shouldn't be crossed. You shouldn't know anything about my personal life during your session. It's all about you, not me. So, no.
Get on there and answer you all kind of questions.
No, you can't do that.
Yeah, you supposed to be helping me, and but that's a good question. I never thought that they would actually need help sometimes. But I guess stress has no boundaries on who it deals with.
It does not.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Have you had to go to, have you felt like you had to or did go to see a psychiatrist before you became one?
So I would say in college, it was really a stressful time dealing with like those microaggressions from professors and, little things. So yeah, I went and talked to somebody, got through that little hump and moved on. It was a way for me to make sure, like, am my stomach okay? Can I really, continue through this? Can I really do this? And yeah, the answer is yes, you can. So it's okay to like, you know, get the help, because even in college, like some people had to go to the counselors there for the ADHD, you know, because it went undiagnosed for so long. So now here, you know, here people are in college and now they have ADHD and didn't know it.
Yeah.
So those are like those instances where I say like it's absolutely okay to like go get what you need so you can know and keep working on it, because you can't just keep navigating through life not putting a band-aid over it, like a, I don't want to use that example, but putting a band-aid over a pipe that's constantly leaking. It's going to keep leaking.
Yeah.
You're never going to be, the water would never flow.
Putting a band-aid on a bullet wound.
Right.
Yeah, so, you know, you're not really healing anything.
Not at all.
Yeah, so I agree with that. Yeah.
Will, let me ask you this, Will. You deal with the public, right? And you've been in politics for how long?
Well, I mean, officially, where I was front-facing the politics for about 2 to 3 years. But background for a whole lot of years, man. I've always kind of matriculated in the background of politics.
Have you ever had maybe a breakdown session where you felt like you need to go see somebody?
You know what, man? You know, that can happen. I've had within the last, I'll say within the last 4 months, man, I had to go and reset. I call my sessions reset sessions.
Right.
Because I'm very aware of when I can possibly get myself to the brink of doing something that's front facing to the public that I don't want people to see. Because you know, you got a lot of backbiting, a lot of stuff that happens in politics that you really say, you know what, normally I would handle this in a different way, but I can't handle it the way I want to. And so I mean, on a small scale, for me just being the sheriff of the county, you know, I often think about what President Obama or Dr. King had to go through when you're trying to make change and trying to push an initiative that's not popular to people sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you get all this this negative feedback and these lies or whatever that comes out of it. Then you have to go back and reset. You're like, wait a minute, I ain't signed up for this, but and I can deal with this in a way that is not going to be positive for me in the public eye. So yeah, I've been through those moments, man. And what I do, ironically, we attend the same church. So our pastor kind of tells us, you know, you always have to go back to your foundation, go back to your spiritual well, to go pull from that well and figure that out. The other part I do is I actually subscribe to Psychology Today. I went and got it because I work in healthcare too. And that my day job is in healthcare, and I see a lot of things that happen in healthcare that I said, you know what, I want to know what these terms mean. I want to know how to actually navigate through the day. If I read Sports Illustrated like I did, as much as I do, or GQ magazine as much as I do, I feel like I need to learn about my mind. So I actually went and subscribed to Psychology Today, which is a great magazine. It gives you day-to-day information on how to deal with stuff. So that's how I navigate it.
Okay.
Now, from the question, I'm glad you asked me that, because I was just reading something while we were talking. We were talking about police officers, and you mentioned how police officers, and when I worked in at Regional 1 Health, which was a trauma center, I often thought about those nurses that saw trauma every day, and those docs that were operating on people every day. So when I went, I was down in we had one of our, when I was in administration there, I was working with the administrators, and we had a situation where we had one of our people that were trauma nurses, that trauma person passed away. And the trauma team had to work on that person. And I can imagine you being part of that team and trying to save your colleague. Now, you saved 15 people the day before, but you can't save your colleague. Imagine what that does to you in your head, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a nurse, whether you were anybody that was in that room, you couldn't save your colleague. And so that I thought about what they were going through, and I even had the concept of, I asked one of my bosses, I was like, man, somebody needs to be talking about post-traumatic stress disorder around here, because that is something serious that you have to see. Imagine the police officers, what they deal with here in Shelby County. I read where police officers are 2 to 4 times more likely to have post-traumatic stress disorder than anybody else.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're not at war. They're just riding around the street trying to keep peace. They're called peace officers, but they have to deal with that kind of stuff at a high level, at a high frequency, especially here in Shelby County. So, those things I think is important. What Dr. Abraham is doing, it's important that we start unpeeling and basically peeling back that onion and figuring out where we fit in and how we deal with that stuff. But yeah, it's clear and present. I promise you. I go back. I got a punching bag in my garage. It's one of my releases. I keep these two. If y'all ever watched the movie Boys in the Hood, when you see Furious got the 2
balls,
I
bought
those, and I do that. When I'm in my office, I just get them in my hands, and you hear the chime from those steel. From those 2 steel balls, and you put them in your hands, and I know this sounds weird on here, so anybody that's in this Diddy mindset, these are real therapeutic things that you buy.
Stress relievers.
They're stress relievers that you buy. But nevertheless, I sit there and put me on some jazz. I'm a big time jazz guy. Put on the Love Supreme, which is one of the longest jazz songs you ever want to listen to from John Coltrane, and I get that by the time I get through. And it always helps, I ain't gonna say nothing about alcohol, but every now and then, every now and then you partake a little bit.
Because I was gonna say, if we're not alcoholics, we don't do it every day, but on weekends, especially for me, on a Saturday, I do that. I go on my patio, I get a cigar, give me my cognac.
You an alcoholic though.
Okay. If I do it one day out of the week, I don't consider it alcoholic, and I'm not trying to get help for that. But
you said you're alcoholic for 1 minute.
Oh, for 1 minute. Well, you know what? But that's how I relieve my stress. And I put on R&B or old school, and I think everybody needs to have some kind of vent, some kind of way, to exhale throughout for the week, because everyday life is hard. Life is very hard. It's a way we have to get it out some kind of way. And everybody, I'm not saying, I think we all need to be on the couch. But when you do your self-relieving, I think you should find things that make you feel good. And also, like you said, acknowledge the fact of what's going on.
Right.
And I talk, and he was talking about this one time too. I talk to myself. I pray, but I talk to myself. Somebody's like, "You crazy." Okay, if that's crazy, we talk to myself. I think everybody should though. Because to me, if you don't analyze and talk to yourself, then you're not doing you're not really helping yourself.
Right.
So is talking to yourself considered crazy?
That sounds like you giving yourself affirmations.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, I am a good man. I am a child of God.
Yes.
I am, a podcast leader. I am a good interviewer. Like those are your I am statements, I would think. And, giving yourself encouragement again and being positive with yourself. Now, those negative thoughts, like what we were just talking about, some of those negative thoughts come in, and that's when the issues happen.
Okay.
So the mindset has to change in order to keep progressing. So your I am statements, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You can look in the mirror and say those to yourself, or say them while you're walking into a building. Like, I am about to, get this meeting going, and I'm about to kill it.
Yeah.
Like those are okay. Those are absolutely fine. And having those healthy things that help you get through your day, or like you said, you enjoy sitting on the patio with a cigar and cognac and music.
Yes.
That's fine. I wouldn't suggest a cigar and a cognac, but you're outside, you're getting your sun,
Yes.
you feel the breeze.
Oh, forgive me. But
My pastor might hear me, Pastor Orr, I told him now. But like those things are great. Like, even like I said before, like with myself, the way that I get help is I journal, I walk. I'm about to learn how to play golf. I make sure that I acknowledge, like, be honest with me and say, oh, okay, now you're off your game a little bit. You need to regroup, bring it in, and go do something. And my other do somethings that I love doing is traveling. So those things give me comfort, even if it's leaving out of the country, going over to the next state, or going somewhere around here in Memphis that I haven't been to yet.
Yeah.
Those things are enjoyable, and those are things that we can all like adapt or adopt to make sure that we can get through our daily lives, because like you said, it's already hard anyway.
Right.
So why make things harder? Be easy on you know?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. So, tell me if something wrong with me.
Yes.
Yeah, you just answered it.
All right, so
Tell you amongst friends.
yeah, man, they always think something wrong with me. But I'm very, I feel like I'm very aware of myself. But I do question myself a lot. She asks me a lot of times, how's your mental health? How are you? How's your mental health? Most of the time, I'm okay. You know, I don't like to talk a lot about a lot of stuff that's on my mind. I just like to go, just look for the solution and deal with it and not talk about it. But it's sometimes I do want to talk about it, but I feel like I'm complaining, right? I have to be, the way I live my life, I have to do things to help me look forward to other things. So I'm always creating something, making sure I got something to look forward to. If I don't, I feel kind of depressed. So is it something, basically what my question is it okay to keep doing that so that I'm okay with like my mental state? Or is it, you know, if I don't do it and I fall into this place, like I'm stuck like in the middle of like trying to like, well I always have to do this, which also gives me anxiety too, because I'm always trying to think of what to do next. So why can't I just sit still and just be, you know, okay for the moment? I can't. It's hard for me to be in the moment sometimes. Put it like that. So how would you clinically diagnose me, like with medicine, or is it something I need to hear? Is it something I need to understand about how I think?
Well, you can start off with therapy first, and if it progresses to needing medication and you're willing to do it, it can happen.
I'm gonna let you know that right now. I'm not a medication guy, but I do want to know if it's something.
But regular therapy sessions every 2 weeks or every week, or however you and the therapist and psychologist, psychiatric nurse practitioner comes up with, that's what you do. So like it'll be changing this mindset of like you're a bother. So you're not complaining, it's called explaining. You're just explaining your day. You're explaining to your fiance like, hey, this is what happened with me today and this is what's going on. You're just giving an explanation about your day. It's not complaining about anything. So it's about the mindset. Then like the negative mindset has to stop. Yeah.
So is that it? So what he said about himself, would it be diagnosed as a problem or issue?
I would have to do a further evaluation. It'll be probably it will be a whole hour long for me to figure that out. So anyway, I can't do it off of 15 seconds of just that. But a whole hour evaluation to hear everything, every intimate detail, just between us two with HIPAA. So so I won't be able to know until I do that, or any therapist for that matter. Like they won't be able to do it.
But it's great that you said that, because a lot of times you get these people that do cookie cutter examinations of folks. Based off what he said, they could have made assumptions, and then they took the assumption and applied it to everybody. And I think that's what he's getting to.
Yeah.
There are people that are out there that are not professionals like you that understand that I can't make a conscientious
clinical decision right,
without really evaluating this person. Or I want to be a person that I don't really want to talk to him. He sounds like this person. This is the category I'm putting him in. There you go. Here's your boxed up diagnosis, and go and enjoy yourself.
No, we're gonna have to talk.
Right.
That shows she's a real provider. She knows what she's doing.
So how do you deal with the people that don't allow anything to stress them out and just don't care?
Those people, we're gonna have to keep talking to them too, because like sometimes they may not want to say anything, or they may not want to be fully honest. But once you meet a clinician that you feel comfortable with and you're willing to just keep going, like, you guys can have a great patient provider relationship, and the whole process will just be smooth. It won't be anything that the provider will probably miss unless you don't tell them. That's why you gotta keep saying saying what you gotta say, and that person also, I have to keep asking you questions to get to the point.
Let me rephrase a little bit. Just say somebody else think you need help because you don't care about anything else that doesn't affect you. Like a free-minded person, free spirit. Don't nothing stress me out. I'm not allowed anything to stress me out. I don't care about this. If it don't affect me, I have nothing to do with it.
So you have like an apathetic mindset. You have no feeling towards anything that's outside of your circle.
Yeah, like you don't care about.
Yeah, so you can see that happening to them over there, but as long as it ain't happening to you, you don't really care.
That's leading into like other things, clinically other things like personality disorders, schizophrenia. I mean, I don't know, like it'll have to be again something I would have to completely evaluate with the person to figure that out, to see what exactly it is. And since I said personality disorders, a lot of people think if you take medicine for that, you cannot. Personality disorders, you just have to you gotta do your own work. You have to do your own work. You gotta unless you have like other clinical symptoms that that go along with it, but then you can probably get medication to cover that. But
so you can't get a pill for stubbornness, right?
No, there's no pill for stubbornness.
Trying to say some magic, ain't it?
No.
So, do you have doctors that try to prescribe people for personality disorders?
No.
So no good doctor would do it. I'm saying it's a bad doctor.
No, we have to go by what we use is the DSM-5. So that shows us, that teaches us what we have to do, and we also use something else called we study under a person named Stalls, and he's very well known in the psychiatry world, and everything is already mapped out from years ago. Right. So you learn those things, you study those things, and you apply it to the people that come to you for help.
Okay. But with this, and let's say this, the guy you said from years ago, I don't know how we, I think, does it not change as time, like as we progress, certain other symptoms that wasn't known back in the 18th century or 19th century, and the way we live now, is it not a growing thing? Like you have to keep learning because there's so much progression in life. Like life is different now. We're stressing up. We're dealing with other things that we didn't have to deal with back then. So wouldn't you guys have to keep, as you said, keep being a student and learning to help people who are dealing with other things that other people didn't deal with back then?
Absolutely. We do have to keep learning. We take conferences, we go to conferences, we do different seminars the universities might offer. We also do CEs, which are the credits that we have to get throughout the years to make sure we can keep our credentialing and licensure. So all of those things, we're always learning. There's not a moment where I feel like any healthcare provider would be lacking, because we're always looking at something to make sure that we can get better at our practice.
So now that we have this introduction of AI into the mix, and a lot of people have, and I wish this was a real thing, but I'm seeing that it's a real thing, is that you have individuals that have created these alternative realities for themselves. And unfortunately, I guess the gateway to that is like people that play video games all day. They get this alternative reality based off what they see in these video games. And I know as a provider, sometimes if, just say you have a kid that's at home, and what we've been seeing that plays out on TV every day in the news now, you get these kids that decide to play GTA in real life. GTA in real life. They want to do Grand Theft Auto in real life. They actually play this game all day, where they jumping in, jacking somebody, taking their car, shooting a person, you jump in, jack somebody, shoot a person, you're getting thousands and thousands of points, you're getting all these accolades for doing that. And then when you go out in real life, you get a kid that says, you know what, I'm gonna try this. And do you think, how do you think we can kind of, I think there should be a forum or something like that in our community.
I think it should be a forum.
Because I think at this point in our history, we have so much access to this stuff now, to the point that reality doesn't set in. People think that you can hit reset and then the game starts over, and that's not happening. You shot this person, that person's dead. Now you got the guy. Go to any courtroom. I challenge anybody. I do this sometimes. I go to the courtroom, just sit there and watch people respond when they go in there and they commit a crime. It's not the same as what they had when they went out to do it. Right? Everybody in there.
The consequences, I think,
They feel bad about what they did. Now they got this remorse about what took place, but they got gassed up off this other stuff.
Right.
And so, how in your, and I know you personally can't do it by yourself, but what steps do you think we need to start taking as a community to start having a real conversation with our children about how this can negatively affect them and how we can really just bring it to the table and have some discussion?
I believe there's a community event coming up in Orange Mound, not this weekend, but the weekend after. And also May 10th, Fairleigh High School is having a community event, and it's for the entire family. So those are, community things that everybody can be involved in, one. Two, it has to come from education. We have to keep educating people. If people don't know a lot of things about, mental health, or they may, have an idea how things are go, or they may not feel so comfortable with learning about different topics about it. But if we keep educate with the parents, and then hopefully they trickle down to their children who are the students, all is well. But it has to start with us adults, with, creating those environments for the kids or children to make sure that they can, see like, okay, I'm not supposed to be out here trying to rob this person, or I'm not supposed to be out here breaking in this person's house. So, but a lot of them get bored, and that's what they go do. So all of those are behavior issues, but at the same time, it's up to us to like be that example for them and make sure like they see us doing positive things like this. Trying to be a positive role model in the environments that they're in, whether it be church, whether it be at the community center that's the Orange Mound Community Center that's having an event. That would be a great one. That start there. They're gonna have bouncers and everything. So those are things that the kids need to be exposed to, so that they know like, okay, this is a safe place. Like, okay, I don't have to go out here and deal with these other people or take something from somebody just for fun. So, but again, like once I feel like continue to educate the parents, but again, that can't just solely be on us. It's a community thing. We have to come together and, want the education, want to get better, and things will continue to progress in the areas that they need to for our entire community.
Yeah, before we give up on them, because these kids, I can't even sit up here and lie, man. It's part of me. First of all, I love the youth, love the youth. But as I get older and I see these new little, whatever this youth is we got today, it's disappointing to me to have to like sit here and wrestle with myself. Like, man, I don't even want to say nothing to them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to say nothing because they crazy. But there's also a side of me. It's something needs to be done, and I know most of the fault falls on us, we parents, right? Do you think people can actually change, or do you think people just like cope better?
People can change if they want to change, It's all about those actionable things. Again, being self-aware, being real with yourself in order for actual change to happen. You can't just keep, doing the same thing over and over again, getting the same results over and over again. You're not progressing, you're not moving, you're not doing anything that you think you should be doing, because you keep doing the same thing, you can get the same result.
Right.
So until you go for therapy, even if it's at my practice, go come for therapy for the medication management, or go to a licensed social worker or psychologist or psychiatrist and get those other, that little help, that push, that bump that you think you don't need, but obviously you do, because you keep doing the same thing over and over again.